evening. The September 11th, 2018 meeting of the Marion County School Board is called to order. For the courtesy of those listening to the meeting, I'm requesting that all electronic devices be turned off or put on vibrate. Later in the meeting, up to 30 minutes will be provided for individuals to address the board on matters concerning the operation of the Marion County school system or the school board only. Presentations to the board are limited to 5 minutes and they are televised. If you wish to address the board regarding a regular agenda item or matters on which the board customarily takes action, you must first complete a peach form located on the table in the hallway. If you wish to address the board regarding a public hearing or student discipline matter, please complete a lime green form. These forms must be fully completed and received by the board secretary no later than 5:40 p.m. The procedures applicable for each are on a separate sheet. Madam Secretary, please call roll.
Mrs. Kelly King, District 5.
Here.
Mrs. Nancy Stacy, District 1. Mr. Bobby James, District 3.
Here.
Ms. Angie Boynton, District 4.
Here.
Mrs. Beth McCall, District 2.
Here.
Dr. Heidi Mayer, Superintendent.
Here.
Mr. Paul Gibbs, School Board Attorney.
Here.
Kevin Christian, Director of Public Relations and Multimedia Productions, please introduce who will be providing the inspiration and leading us in the pledge this evening.
Good evening to each of you. We have a treat for you this evening. Obviously, today is 9/11, the unthinkable anniversary of what happened September 11th, 2001. For those of you who were around then, I remember that we had a school board meeting that night. It was a very somber meeting, but nevertheless, we did persevere, we pushed forward, and we continued with the business at hand. I'm thrilled tonight to share several people with you. First of all, a senior IB student from Vanguard High School who wasn't even born yet when all of this happened. I'd like to welcome Anne Marie Darius, who as a 17-year-old never knew of the World Trade Center towers, but has been impacted by the legacy they leave behind. So, Anne Marie, if you'll come up and share your words of inspiration with us.
One quick correction, I was actually born when it happened. I'll talk about that a little bit when we get on. On September 11th, 2001, my generation witnessed the first historical tragedy of our lifetimes. Now, I had only been alive for 222 days, but I can still feel the effect of it 2,209 days later. Now, it's a strange realization knowing that the students in the class below mine weren't alive when this happened. It's very easy to feel that history is not a part of our lives, to think that it happened so long ago that it no longer affects us. But we must never let them forget, because we will always remember. We are the source of the recent past. Our stories become their living history, and it is through this way that the legacies live on. The legacies of the firefighters who lost their lives climbing staircases trying to save others. The legacies of the parents who held their breath as their kids took their first steps into a world that no longer felt safe. My family and I were living in New York when it happened. My father was supposed to take a flight out on that same Tuesday, and my mother can recall every detail. She remembers the pink tie-dye pants my older sister was wearing when she had one foot out the door to go to her kindergarten class, and she'll never forget the confusion on her daughter's face when she had to tell her that she couldn't go to school that day. Something bad happened, she told her. She remembers the smell of metal when she stepped outside the apartment that day, and she'll never forget that we lived just 6 miles away from the Twin Towers. But today, she can still feel the same sense of relief when my father walks through the front door after work, or when my sisters and I come home from school. The tragedies of our past are always with us, but they do not define us. Through tragedies, we find triumphs, and through tribulations, we find strength. We see the world as it truly is, all of the turmoil, but also all of the beauty. I believe that we do have the power to extinguish the pains of history, and we must never stop aiming for a better future. We must reach for it. Even when our arms ache, we must run to it. Even if our legs cannot carry us any further, we must find the branches that hinder us and the thorns that prick us before we can see the garden. And so today, we remember the tragic attack on America and how it affected our lives. And tomorrow, we'll never forget to keep fighting for them. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne-Marie. Stay up here with me. Inspired? We are fortunate to have representatives of our local first responding agencies with us in attendance this evening. As we honor them for their service, I'd like to recognize them by name. First of all, Marion County Sheriff Mr. Billy Woods, representing his agency. Ocala Fire Rescue newly appointed Chief Shane Alexander. Captain Robert Altman, also with Ocala Fire Rescue. We have Ocala Police Chief Greg Graham with us. Remember, these agencies collectively serve all of our schools and have thousands of employees who are first responders in times of crises. Finally, we have the Marion County Fire Rescue Honor Guard. We have Deputy Chief Bart Walker with us this evening. The members of that honor guard include Captain Pam Driggers, Lieutenant Lance Long, and Lieutenant Joe Tadeo. I will ask you at this time to please stand as they enter and present our colors.
All uniform personnel, present arms.
Please join us. I pledge allegiance to the
flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order, arms. Forward, march.
You may be seated. Say anything?
If I can. We all know, we all remember where we were on that day. Some of us lost friends in the towers. Our first responders, they never quit. They kept going in, even when in times of danger. And our first responders never quit. And I, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. And we are so blessed that each of you are here to serve every day. Thank you.
Yeah, 9/11 was a day so many students were with me. And it was a day that I will never forget. And all the students, they would never forget it, they told me. And they're still like that. As I looked around and I saw the fire rescue, I instantly was thinking about ours, instantly. And I looked at airplane, the airplane, I looked at the polices, and the first thing I was looking for was hours. And I don't know if you want us to do, but if with our police, sheriff, and our firemen, was that would come up, please? Please. These are the men right now, which come on up, yeah. And as I look at it, I always, like I said, I always remember at our polices, our firemen, sheriff. You know, it was something, as you look at these children today, you remember these are the things who saved their life to be around us, for even right now. For everything that you look around and you see things that are going around, look at our polices. Without them, we would not have them. And I'm just proud of them myself because they're always doing something for us, for our students, for our employees, and I just want to say right now, just for me, thank you for what you do. Thank you.
Mr. James,
Thank you.
y'all can turn around. Mr. James wants to address you.
First of all, I just want to thank you guys for a job well done and all that you do. There are three great moments in American history that I remember where I was and exactly what I was doing. My first one was when JFK was assassinated. I was sitting in the bleachers at Howard High School. And the next one was Martin Luther King, Dr. Martin Luther King. I was a student out at CFCC, and I was there when it happened, and I said, let's walk gentle today, because a twig could start a riot or whatever, but let's walk gentle today. I remember sitting in my office on the 11th at Dunallen High School when I saw the towers being hit, and they kept playing it over and over and over. This is one of the most difficult things as a building level administrator, to manage a school when all the TV's on and all the kids that are there have relatives that were involved in this. I know what type of job you all do, simply because I had, for that one moment, had just an idea of what it takes to manage people when there's total chaos. And I want to congratulate you guys simply because I saw the chaos and the panic that were occurring and the uncertainties. People don't realize what you guys really do, but if you had 1,000 and some odd students and they can't turn the TV off and they're constantly calling to see if a relative. I saw Miss Elsterman here, and she was at Westport. I can't imagine what she was going through at that time, because she has so many of her students that came from New York and above. So again, on behalf of all the students and all the parents that are involved with what you guys do, thanks, job well done. Thank you.
Ms. King.
Yeah, I just want to say, probably for the first time in my life, and also as a young mother and having children, I remember exactly where I was and having that confusion, as she spoke earlier, the confusion and uncertainty, and how America had changed. That I saw, I knew right when it was happening that it was living history. And I just personally thank each and every one of you, because you are very brave and heroes. And it doesn't matter if it is thousands of people or if it's just one family or whatever, you guys always go forward to do what's right and what's best for humans. So thank you.
Thank you all so much. Dr. Mayor.
Yes, ma'am. I recommend approval of the agenda for the September 11th, 2018 school board meeting with the materials in the board packet. Those materials distributed to board members at the meeting and the audio recording included as part of the official recording, official record of the meeting.
May I have a motion on the superintendent's recommendation?
Move.
Moved by Ms. Boynton. Seconded by Ms. King. All those in favor, please vote aye, and opposed, like sign. Motion passed 4-0. May I have a motion to approve the minutes for the June 26, 2018 school board meeting?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. James, seconded by Ms. Boynton. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? You good? If there are none, all those in favor, please vote aye, and opposed, like sign. Motion passed 4-0. May I have a motion to approve the minutes for the July 19th, 2018 administrative briefing and work session?
Move.
Moved by Ms. Boynton, seconded by Ms. King. Are there any additions or corrections to these minutes? If there are none, all those in favor, please vote aye, and opposed, like sign. Motion passed 4-0. Dr. Mayer, you have a Turnaround Schools update for us.
Yes, Ms. Hamby and Mr. McGowan will lead that discussion, and we have our area directors here as well.
Good evening, Madam Chair, school board members, Dr. Mayer, Mr. Gibbs, Mrs. Martinez-Lopez, and Mrs. Prespatino. Before beginning the presentation this evening, I want to first thank Mr. Dustin Sims, the Executive Director of the Differentiated Accountability Northeast Region, for being in attendance this evening. We have appreciated his vested interest in our schools, as he's attended several of the instructional reviews here in Marion County, and he also attended the Oak Crest community meeting. So hopefully you can give a stand or a wave over there, but thank you, Mr. Sims. And please remember, I know I mentioned the Oak Crest community meeting that we had. We are going to have another one next week on Thursday, September 20th at 5:30 in the Oak Crest cafeteria. So we're going to share the results from the community survey and regarding the options for the turnaround plan. So again, that will be next Thursday at September 20th at 5:30. So this evening, as Dr. Mayer had mentioned, let me make sure we get the next slide here. There we go. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Curley. This evening, Mr. McGowan will be sharing iReady diagnostic comparison data per the request from you all on the DA schools and also the lowest 300 schools. The area directors and Dr. DeCincy, the president of Educational Directions, is here this evening and can help field questions that may arise. In addition, we're going to review the upcoming dates outlined to share progress points regarding our schools. So like Dr. Mayer said, Mr. McGowan's going to go over this data this evening. The right place.
Good evening, Board. I have the privilege tonight, along with the area directors, to provide you with an update on our turnaround schools. Tonight we'll be focusing on academic data, specifically the most recent AP1 diagnostic assessment data from iReady, which was recently completed at the end of August. I would like to take a few minutes to provide some background information that will assist in providing some context to the data before we simply start looking at numbers. I want to provide a couple of points that we can begin with. First, please know that when we look at this iReady data, this is presented in standard view, and I know that we've shared with you a few times before there's different views that you can access in iReady. This is standard view. We would have loved to have shown this in end-of-year view, which is always the most stringent and the most accurate. However, the way that to be able to compare last year at this time to this year, we had to use standard view. And standard view essentially means that for a student to be considered on grade level, after the diagnostic, they have to be placed from their results as either early, mid, or late in that current school year. Okay, as for comparison, end of year view would only consider them on grade level if they were mid or late of their school year. Second, the cohort comparisons that you'll see are grade level to grade level only. It is not down to the student level. So what that means, if we look at third grade, for example, and it had 85 students in that cohort, now those students are in fourth grade, they may have right around 85 students again, but that does not necessarily mean they're the same students. As you know, students move in, some students move out, so it is not down to the student level. The purpose of this presentation is to show you where that school started last year and where they're starting this year. And finally, please keep in mind that AP1 provides baseline data to help our educators know where their students are at in terms of their strengths and weaknesses in ELA and math domains. And it's not where we start, as you know, it is where we end. So I will start with, I don't think it's working, so if you'll let me have it, I'll turn back. Okay. All right, feels magic. So we will start with our Area 1 schools. We will start with Anthony Elementary. I will spend just a couple of minutes kind of overviewing. All the slides are the same for quick reference as we go through. I'll be more than happy to spend as much or as little time as you would like. When we look at Anthony Elementary, again, this is AP1 of last school year to this school year. So we are comparing apples to apples in terms of the data, and this is standard view. So when we look at, there's two different ways I'd like for us to look at this data tonight. One is simply grade level. So when we look at third grade in ELA from 2017 to 2018, Anthony had 27% on grade level at this time last year. At this time, this year, they're at 31%. When we look at math, last year was 8%, and this year, 10%. The other way to look at this data is by cohort. So if we were to look at third grade ELA students in 2017, now they are fourth grade ELA students in 2018. So you can look at it diagonally as well to look at just that cohort of students. So as a whole, you will see that for Anthony Elementary, they are starting at a better spot in third grade. In fourth and fifth grade, there is a decline for both ELA and math. Again, I'd like to reiterate that this is in standard view. If we were looking at beginning of year view, this data would look much better, obviously, because what that would entail is that it's looking at any student on grade level, or if they are a year behind. It would include those students as on grade level. And why would that be? Well, that is because we're at the beginning of the year. So if you look at beginning of the year view, it's going to take into account those students who may not be technically on grade level right this second, but they are very close to being there. But we are looking at standard. So after the diagnostic, they had to be on grade level after that first diagnostic that we just completed. East Marion Elementary, you'll see for third grade ELA, a 4% drop, fourth grade 3%, fifth grade a decline as well. You will see in math, and this is kind of the trend with all the schools, we are seeing a little bit better starting point with our math, and that is true for several of our schools. Also, you'll notice some trends in terms of the cohort. So if you look at third grade math for 2017, 10%, now 22%. So they're starting with 12% more of their students considered on grade level for those standards. Fourth to fifth grade, you see an 8% increase as their starting point. Evergreen Elementary, again, same way of looking at this data. You can look at it by grade level and by cohort. Again, a reminder, this is not an exact, what we'd call a survey match of students. It is not the exact student to student. It is grade level to grade level. So we're looking at, as a whole, as a snapshot, how they began the year last year versus how they're beginning the year this year. So obviously you can see, the data is where it's at. It is a decline for all the grade levels, the biggest of which would be the cohort from third to fourth in ELA, and again from fourth to fifth in math. President Elementary. and Oakcrest Elementary. Reddick Collier Elementary, again, same information. And Wyoming Park Elementary. With Wyoming, you can see a little bit different of a trend. If we begin with ELA, for 4th and 5th grade, you can see they are starting at a higher point for their 4th and 5th grade students. 3rd grade is a little bit lower, but 4th and 5th grade is starting out at a higher point. And when you look at the cohort for math, those 3rd graders that are now 4th grade students, a big jump, and from 4th to 5th grade as well. So they are starting at a significantly higher point than they did last year. Any questions in regards to Area 1 school?
Thank you for that information, and I believe they can, they can get better, but I can see it though.
So
Yeah,
I do have one question. I'm just a little bit concerned about what happened in 2nd grade, because at the start of the 3rd grade year, I mean, most of the schools are down quite a bit from where the 3rd graders were the year before. So I just have a little bit of a concern. Melissa, I don't know what changed to make that happen.
As far as a change in 2nd grade, I wouldn't say there's a change in 2nd grade. I would say that overall, our Area 1 and across our district, our data is down. However, no surprise, considering where we ended last year. We very much own that this is a Tier 1 instruction issue, and we have worked diligently and are continuing to work side by side with our administrators at the schools and our teachers to ensure that we're teaching bell to bell, that we are teaching the standards to the depth of the knowledge and the rigor that they need to be taught, and to ensure that as we're teaching the standards, that we're doing those quick formative checks for understanding and intervening right away as we see necessary for our individual students who need that immediate intervention because they're not understanding and grasping the standards to mastery, and not waiting on that, and making sure that we're already intervening right away and progress monitoring each of those students.
Okay, so hopefully we're gonna see this.
That is the plan, Ms. McCall. That is definitely the
I mean,
plan.
that is,
Our
is
teachers.
concerning to see those scores.
Yes, ma'am, it absolutely is. And I invite any of you to come out, and I know some of you have come out with me already. Our teachers, you won't find a more dedicated and more willing group of teachers across the district. They're willing to learn, as well as the administrators and the coaches that are working side by side. So certainly that has a lot to do with it, making sure they're willing, and we are, helping give them the skills to get the students where we want them to be proficient.
Thank you.
We will move to our Area 2 schools, starting with Bellevue Elementary. When we look at 3rd grade, again, starting for both ELA and math at a higher point than from AP1 in 17-18. A slight drop in 4th grade, but an increase in 5th grade. So in 4 of their 6 areas, they are starting at a higher point in terms of students being on grade level now. You'll also see, for example, their 3rd to 4th grade and 4th to 5th grade in math, which again, a trend we've seen with a lot of the schools is that for math, they are starting out. That same cohort of students is starting out at a higher level. Bellevue Santos Elementary, starting out, except for 5th grade ELA and 4th grade ELA, at a little bit lower point than where they were. And did see a drop in those cohorts moving from 3rd to 4th and 4th to 5th. Emerald Shores Elementary, starting ELA at the same spot for 3rd grade and right around the same for all grade levels of ELA, and dropped a little bit from those cohorts moving from to 4th and 5th. In math, 3rd grade, extremely low in terms of students being on grade level, although 1 percentage point higher than last. But when you look at 3rd grade to 4th grade, those students are starting 10 percentage points higher than they did last year at this time. And 4th grade dropped 9 percentage points from 4th to 5th. Greenway Elementary, when we look at ELA starting higher in 3rd and 4th grade and about and lower in 5th grade. Again, when we look at the cohort comparisons, there's not a large drop between 3rd and 4th in ELA and no drop in 4th to 5th. A little bit of a drop in math from 3rd to 4th and a pretty significant drop in 4th to 5th. Legacy Elementary, again, same trends that we see, starting lower in some of the areas, but higher in, I would say, around half or so. But again, I think here the significant thing to point out is in math, again, the trend with all the schools is we're seeing those cohort students are starting significantly higher than they did at this point last year, jumping from 12 to 34% and 21 to 26. Okay. Any questions for Area 2?
No, fine. Go ahead.
Okay. So in Area 3, College Park Elementary, again, same trend. We look at math and gains from cohort for both 4th and 5th grade, and declines in ELA, but starting higher in 4th and 5th grade in ELA. Marion Oaks Elementary, again, same exact trend. So it is interesting that after the first diagnostic for our turnaround schools, we are seeing the same trends. The cohorts in math are getting better. They are starting at a better point, more of a chance for students to be proficient and on grade level by the end of the year, and a dip in ELA. And finally, Sunrise, from cohort to cohort, again, same trend, drop in ELA and increase in math, and a little bit of a drop in ELA, grade level to grade level, but an increase of a few percentage points in math. Any questions for Area 3? Okay, so just wanted to provide a quick update on the next time we will be presenting information regarding our turnaround in L300 schools. It'll be more of a quarterly update next with October 23rd. That will also be the time when we will present the first round of the quick fact sheets to you again, updated after quarter 1 information, January 22nd and April the 9th. Also wanted to take the opportunity to update you on the upcoming work session on the 20th. I know that there has been a few questions at recent board meetings that I would like to take that time. It was set aside for the uniform assessment calendar, but these are some other topics that I'll be happy to share with you. I know that have been asked at, again, other work sessions or board meetings, so we will look at the time to complete the iReady diagnostic. AP1 results for all schools. Tonight, obviously, we covered turnaround, but we will cover all elementary and middle schools who participated, and the relationship between our quarterly assessments and the FSA. I'll show you some data in regards to that. And finally, a quick comparison of QSMA and iReady as well. Any questions for me?
I'll probably send you an email or something that I was thinking, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Good evening, board members. While we're on the topic of our DA schools and data, we do have a guest who's here with us this evening that would like to say just a few words. Most of you, I believe, are familiar with Jane Elsperman, who we have brought on as a consultant to work with us in providing additional support to all of our bottom 300 schools. So this time I'm turning over to her, and she's going to say just a few brief words.
Thank you, Ben. It is really fabulous to be able to be here working with some of our struggling schools. I've been brought on specifically to work with the lower 300 schools, and even more specifically to work with the principals to help support them as they support their teachers in the work that's going on in the classroom. So I'll be working with all 11 of those schools and helping them recognize what they can do to support their teachers and improve student performance. And it's truly an honor to be able to be here in Marion County and to support those schools that have the biggest needs. So thank you for this opportunity. And if any of you have any questions about my role or what I'm going to be doing, I'd be more than happy to answer those questions now or at another time. But thank you for the opportunity to work with our schools and our children and help Marion County be a great place to work and learn.
Thank you, Jane. I just want to publicly thank you for agreeing to come. You have been all over this country and other places to see how things are working, and I am thrilled that you can help and bring those ideas to us. So thank you very much.
It's really an honor. I appreciate it as well. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Is that it?
I just got one thing to say now, guys. No, it was not the Jane. Okay, I really appreciate the information that you have given tonight. Okay, but when we come back the next time, information, and tell me what you're doing to address those the areas where we are deficient in. Okay, this is where I want. This is the information I want. Now, do we need to do something as a board to help with the areas that we are deficient in? Do y'all know what I'm saying now? Okay. Okay, that's what I'm looking for next.
Also, where we are with the teachers, if do we do any resources? Do we have any different teachers that may need? Like that, because every year, where we are at the teachers. Do we have another student teacher? Do another one? That's what I wanted to say. Do another student for any of the for these schools right here. So I just want to know if we need any more teachers for any of those schools right now. Okay? That way,
Jane, that's where I see your role, is to tell me what we need
Okay.
once we start addressing, because you guys have given me what I was looking for.
Yeah.
Okay, you brought Jane in here, that's great. Now, Jane, you can tell us if we need a new car, a new airplane or whatever over there. You need to tell us when we get up here and if these numbers are not moving. Okay? Yes, sir. Okay.
Thank you.
And I would encourage, and I will contact Mr. Curley, us to go with our area supervisors to these schools to see what's going on, and you will have a call from me, Mr. Curley. So I think that would help us see how things are working. So thank you. Great. Before proceeding with the fiscal year 2018-19 budget hearings, we need to finalize the fiscal year 2017-18 budget resolutions. May I have a motion to approve budget resolution number 28 for Special Revenue Fund Food Service?
Move.
Moved by Ms. Boynton, second by Ms. King. Is there any discussion? This was on our agenda. You should have seen it. Okay, everybody looked at it. Okay. If there's no discussion, then all those in favor, please vote aye, and opposed, nay. And the motion passed 4-0. May I have a motion to approve budget resolution number 29 for the general fund?
Move.
Moved by Ms. Boynton,
Second.
seconded by Mr. James. Is there any discussion? If there is none, all those in favor, please vote aye, and opposed, like sign. Motion passed 4-0. May I have a motion to approve final budget resolution number 30 for Capital Projects Fund?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. James,
Second.
seconded by Ms. Boynton. Is there any discussion? If there is none, all those in favor, please vote aye, and opposed, like sign. And motion passed 4-0. May I have a motion to approve final budget resolution number 31 for the debt service fund? Moved by Ms. Boynton,
Second.
seconded by Mr. James. Is there any discussion on this resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please vote aye, and opposed, like sign. And the motion passed 4-0. May I have a motion to approve final budget resolution number 32 for internal service fund? Moved by Ms. King,
Second.
second by Ms. Boynton. Is there any discussion?
Call the question.
You have a question?
No, I just got
Okay.
a question.
All those in favor, please vote yes, and against, nay. Motion passed 4-0. And finally, may I have a motion to approve budget resolution number 33 for the special revenue fund?
Move.
Moved by Ms. Boynton,
Second.
second by Mr. James. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please vote aye, and opposed, like sign. And the motion passed 4-0. I will now ask the school board's attorney to explain the rules governing persons who wish to address the school board tonight.
Good evening. In compliance with Section 286.0114 of Florida statutes, the school board has adopted uniform procedures for public speakers who wish to speak at tonight's meeting, either regarding one of tonight's agenda items or a matter relating to the operations of the school district. These procedures will ensure the public has a reasonable opportunity to be heard on school board and school district matters. A written summary of these procedures is available from the table in the hallway. Public speaker forms are also located on the same table. The completed forms were due to the school board secretary no later than 5:40 p.m. Tonight's speakers will be called prior to the business portion of the school board's meeting in the order of receipt by the school board secretary. Before you begin speaking, please state your full name and address for the record and spell your last name. Each speaker will have 5 minutes of time. However, if there are more than 5 persons who wish to speak, the board may seek consensus to limit each speaker's time to 3 minutes. When the speaker has 1 minute remaining, the speaker will receive a visual notice to complete his or her comments. Speakers may not yield their time to other people. Speakers and meeting attendees are expected to conduct themselves in a respectful manner. Therefore, verbal attacks and profanity are strictly prohibited. Pursuant to the procedures for public comments, item number 6, speakers are not to identify specific individuals other than themselves or their child, unless the statement has been provided 24 hours in advance. If there are matters dealing with student discipline, including expulsions, they will be scheduled at the conclusion of the televised portion of this meeting. Parents may address the board regarding a discipline matter at that time. To ensure student privacy, only a parent or guardian may use a student's first or last name. Identifying references to or identification of other students and/or their families are also strictly prohibited. Thank you for your attention to the board's requirements.
Madam Secretary, do we have those requesting to speak?
We do, we have 2.
Okay.
Nicole Christina Thornton.
Ms. Thornton, if you'll come to the podium, please state your full name and address and spell your last name.
Nicole Christina Rollins Thornton, Thornton, 53 Pecan Drive Loop, Ocala, Florida, 34472. Has that been accepted? Good evening. My name is Dr. Nicole Christina Rollins Thornton, and I come before this school board today as a woman of God covered in the blood of Jesus. I have my Bible here, and with that being said, everything that I say here is 100% the truth. 17 years ago today, our nation suffered a great loss of life, and the world that we knew was forever changed. Living in New York at the time, my mother, who worked for the IRS, was late to work that day, and she worked in the shadows of the Twin Towers. And her life was spared because she went to go vote in the primary election, only to lose her life 5 months later to cancer. My mother, Carlotta Rollins, was an immigrant of the country Panama. She became a naturalized citizen. She worked hard on behalf of her church, people in her community. She was a staunch proponent of doing the right thing and standing up for what was right. I, as her daughter, stand here today to speak for the voiceless and those who are in fear of the administrators of Marion County Public Schools. On May 30th, I was informed that my contract for the 2018-2019 school year would not be recommended for reappointment. Okay. I signed my letter of reappointment in February of 2018. As of to date, September 11th, 2018, I have not received any type of evaluation of job performance for my 17-18 school year. And as Mr. Gibbs was very clear to outline protocol, procedure, etiquette, you are in violation of your own school board policy, Section 6, Human Resources, which states all evaluations of job performance are to be completed prior to reappointment. That was not done in my case. I have never received any disciplinary action, nor ever been told verbally or any email correspondence that my work performance was not satisfactory during the 2017-2018 school year. As we talk about what is best for students here in Marion County Public Schools, I am not seeing that being done. I stand here as a former 15-year Marion County Public School employee, 8 years as a teacher of intensive reading and English of 9th and 10th grade students. During my 8-year tenure in the classroom, I had 95% pass rate for my students taking the FCAT in reading. I spent 1 year as a dean. During that year, I had a 25 decrease in office discipline referrals. I spent 2 years as a testing coordinator for Bellevue High School. During my tenure, I maintained a 98% testing attendance rate with less than 5% of any testing invalidations during my tenure. As a program specialist for the district, I helped to create 187 local end-of-course examinations. And as a principal of 3 years at Horizon Academy, Marion Oaks, school that has the highest population of free and reduced lunch students, Title I school, I was a staunch advocate for my students, the teachers, the paraprofessionals, the bus aides, bus drivers. Only to be told that I did not have a job after 15 years without merit. I have 15 evaluations in good standing with no ratings less than satisfactory. My certifications are principal, educational leadership, English 6 through 12, English 5 through 9. I have 300 hours of reading endorsement, 300 hours of ESOL endorsement. What I bring to you, board, and I want you to investigate, you have principals that don't have principal certification. You have more than 10 assistant principals that do not hold educational leadership. Turnaround schools. I ended up working and completing the end of my contract at one of your turnaround schools. Upon my first day, which also coincided with the first day of the 3rd grade boot camp, there was no schedule in place for those students. You had students who had IEPs. You had 2 students who were EBD students. There was no support facilitator hired until the 3rd week of that program. We want to say we're doing what's right for students, boots on the ground. I'm finding with this administration that is not accurate. That is not what is happening. Experienced educators are being removed without merit, without explanation, and I understand that this is a right-to-work state. But you are replacing them with inexperienced educators and people who have no clue of what they're doing, and it is hurting our students. I stand here and I say to you, school board, please fully investigate my claims. I'll be happy to meet with any of you individually.
Thank you for,
And
Thank you
I will
for-
just end with this. I'm going to say a change is needed, and I plan to be a proactive agent for change in 2020. Thank you.
I do just want
Thank you.
to alert everybody that we do have an EEOC case that's active and pending
That is
regarding Ms. Thornton. So I would caution the board on making too many public comments that could get into the EEOC claims.
thank you for coming and the information that you gave us. I really, sometimes, you know, I know what the law is, but I can tell you, thank you for the information. Thank you, and you can call me anytime. You know?
Where are you currently working?
I prefer not to release that at that time. You have my personal information. I will speak to you about that personally, but I will not say that in open.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Okay. I have a quick question. I know there's an EEOC, but can we as a district, can we
Yeah, we can.
investigate this?
Yeah.
I know we had that complaint, but what about as a district? What can we do?
I would look into the board's authority to investigate. Investigations are generally done through the superintendent's office and operations, so I'd have to look at the statutes on who has the authority to initiate an investigation on personnel matters.
Okay, I think we need to.
All right.
And I will say, when you can call me, if we have the law information, you can still call me, you know, about the law, the things that we have the law against, but you can call me for anything, okay? Thank you. Mhm.
Max Blessing.
Mr. Blessing, please state your full name, spell your last name, and give us your address.
Max Allen Blessing, BLESSING, 2028 Southeast 7th Street, Ocala, Florida, 34471.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, so I'm Max Blessing. I am the student body president at Forest High School. I'm here to speak about the shooting last year. Last year we had a shooting and we wanted to do something positive for the students to build unity, so we created these shirts to show strength. All the student body and faculty received shirts last year, free of charge, and we unfortunately have a few leftovers. We have gotten a lot of interest in the shirts from the community, but we don't have enough to give everyone a shirt. To solve this problem, we want to donate the remainder shirts to the district staff who closed their offices and helped us through this time of struggle. We'd like to express our gratitude to the district staff for all their support and have them receive the shirts. The shirts serve the purpose of creating unity among the student body, and I'd like to thank the community for all the support for Forest High School.
Thank you, Mr. Blessing. That is
Thank you.
very kind of you. Thank you, John.
Have a good day.
Very much. So how will you distribute? Do you know who the people are? Just curious. I think it's a great idea. How are we going to do this?
We have a couple boxes that we can come and drop off.
Is that okay?
If anybody wants
Carolyn
one,
will
we
help get them out.
Okay, all right, so we
have, I
can,
think, around 200.
oh,
but
perfect.
Depending on sizes.
Okay, so do you just want to drop them off and we will get them out, okay? Thank you so much. What a great idea. I love wearing my shirt. So thank you all so much. Thank you. May I have a motion to adopt the updated District Emergency Management Procedural Manual?
I move that.
Moved by Ms. Boynton,
Second.
seconded by Mr. James. Madam Superintendent?
The District Emergency Management Procedure Manual is updated annually and is used to provide the district with accurate and consistent procedures for handling disasters and emergencies that may occur.
I declare a public hearing. Is there anyone present who wishes to address the District Emergency Management Procedure Manual? And I'm sure everybody's read it cover to cover. Okay?
I was going to say about I read for everything, and the last year, I saw some different things, and I really like that information, and thank you, okay? Thank you. They did a real good time on this one, okay?
All right, all those in favor, please vote aye, and opposed, like sign. And the motion passed 4-0. The budget process involves public hearings to be held in the following order. Rolled back rate computation and tentative budget amended to conform to the final budget. Resolution determining revenues and millages levied. And then the final budget. If you wish to address the board regarding one of the public hearings, there is a special form to be completed on which you will need to select the appropriate areas of concern. And the chair now recognizes Superintendent Meyer to begin the budget public hearing process.
The total millage to be levied is greater than the rolled back rate by 2.35%. The required local effort millage rate is less than the rolled back rate by 0.19%. Each school board participating in the state allocation of funds for the current operation of schools must levy the millage set for its required local effort from property taxes. As a result of work sessions held by the board since the adoption of the tentative budget of $553,302,440 on July 31st, 2018, the following changes have been made and have been incorporated into the proposed final budget. Increase in revenues for additional PICO, Public Education Capital Outlay allocation. Decrease in revenues for the adjustment to carryover balances of federal and miscellaneous local grants. Increase in expenditures for net change to staffing plan, PICO. Decrease in expenditures for adjustment to carryover balances of federal and miscellaneous local grants, and changes in fund balance due to actual revenue and expenditures recorded in July for the prior fiscal year. The following attachments have been added to the rolled back computation on September 7th, 2018. The memo, changes from tentative to final budget, certification and compliance, public hearing certification, fiscal year 2018-2019 final budget publication to be published on Marion County Public Schools website on September 12th, 2018.
Thank you. May I have a motion on the superintendent's recommendation that the board amend the adopted tentative budget to conform to the proposed revised final budget for fiscal year 2018-2019?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. James and seconded by Ms. Boynton. This is a public hearing. Does anyone wish to address the board concerning the rolled back rate and/or amended tentative budget? Discussion from the board?
No.
Okay. Hearing none, all those in favor, please vote aye, and opposed, like sign. And the motion passed 4-0.
Yes. The School Board of Marion County, Florida proposes a total millage rate of 7.319, which is greater than the rollback rate of 7.1508 mils by 2.35%. I recommend the board adopt Resolution 18-07, determining revenue and millages to be levied for fiscal year 2018-2019.
May I have a motion to the superintendent's recommendation that the board adopt Resolution 18-07, determining revenues and millages to be levied for fiscal year 2018-2019?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. James, seconded by Ms. King. This is a public hearing. Does anyone wish to address the board concerning the millages? Any discussion from the board? Hearing none, all those in favor, please vote aye, and opposed, like sign. Motion passed 4-0.
I recommend the board adopt Resolution 18-08, affirming the revised final budget for fiscal year 2018-2019 in the amount of $553,877,341.
May I have a motion on the superintendent's recommendation that the board adopt Resolution 18-03, affirming the revised final budget for fiscal year 18-19 in the amount of $533,877,341.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. James,
Second.
seconded by Ms. Boynton. This is a public hearing. Does anyone wish to address the board concerning the final budget? Any discussion from the board?
No.
Hearing none. All those in favor, please vote aye, and opposed, like sign. And the motion passed 4-0. I would be remiss if I did not thank our CFO, Ms. Teresa Boston Ellis, and her staff for all the very hard, fabulous work that you have done. We have had several workshops on the budget. To the general public, it may seem that we have just voted and have not done our homework, but trust me, we have. And her staff provided unbelievable information, answered all of our questions, and made the adjustments that we asked. So thank you, Ms. Boston Ellis, for all the hard work.
Would you bring up?
Ms. Teresa Boston Ellis, Mr. James would like you to come to the front of the room.
Before you get started, I'll give you something to work with. Now, how many years has it been that your department have been exemplary?
19 years in a row.
Thank you. If you're referring to the GFOA accommodation, yes.
19 years. Let me just say this to the public out there. I've been around for those 19 years, and this is my last one. And I just wanted to make sure that we give you some kudos, because when people see us pass the budget 4-0, they really don't know how much time you've taken to explain this budget to us, and why we, in good conscience, can say yay to your financial resolution. So again, on behalf of all the ones that have come before us and that have worked with you in the past, we want to thank you for a job well done.
And it was her birthday Saturday.
Your turn. Thank you.
I would just like to say, as I do every year, I appreciate the support of our administration as well as the school board. I do have a fantastic staff, and we work together very, very well. And we take pleasure, and we are very proud of the work that comes out of our department. And I just am overwhelmed with this recognition at this time. I don't know how they were feeling, but I was just holding my breath to the end, knowing that we've reached this plateau, and now we've got to get ready for next fiscal year, because you've seen the long-term outlook, and so we've got to get ready for next year in case people are wondering what we're going to be doing. But again, thank you for the recognition, and again, it's not me, it's the entire finance staff, and we're very thankful.
Thank you so much. May I have a motion to approve the Boy Scout Eagle Badge project to construct and install a wooden deck at Vanguard High School? Oh, excuse me. Sorry. I was so excited about the budget. Mr. Knight, you're just going to have to wait a minute. May I have a motion to approve consent agenda items C 9.1 through C 19.1?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. James, seconded by Ms. Boynton. If there is no discussion, all those in favor, please vote aye.
Aye.
And opposed, like sign. And the motion passed 4-0. Now, may I have a motion to approve the Boy Scout Eagle Badge project to construct and install a wooden deck at Vanguard High School? Moved by Ms. King and seconded by Ms. Boynton. Mr. Knight.
Good evening, thank you. As the board knows, from time to time, we run across situations where we have an Eagle Scout candidate in the community that must complete their Eagle project in order to receive their Eagle Badge, which is the highest rank in Boy Scouting. And tonight, we have the pleasure of meeting Conrad Helwig. I believe I said his last name correctly. Helwegi. Conrad Helwegi. And I'm going to ask him to come up to the podium, as well as Mr. Chris Carlisle, the principal of Vanguard High School. As you also probably know, Eagle Scout project requires the Eagle Scout candidate to A, put together the package for the project, B, plan it out, C, seek the various funding sources for it, and the permissions, and in this case tonight, the board approving such a project, and then D, involving his fellow scouts from his troop as part of the project. This project will serve as an outdoor reading area and instruction area for Vanguard High School in a nice shady spot where grass doesn't seem to want to grow, which is fine. We'll cover it up with the deck. I've already looked over as the supervisor of facilities the project, and in typical fashion, once the board, if the board does approve the project, will certainly be instrumental in helping the Eagle Scout candidate further this project to fruition. So at this time, I'll just ask Conrad to come forward, as well as Mr. Chris Carlisle, in case you have any questions for them about their project or his journey as an Eagle Scout. Thank you.
Conrad, could you describe your project, please?
Yes, ma'am. I will be constructing an outdoor classroom area at Vanguard High School that also doubles as a memorial to students that, while at Vanguard, lost their lives.
Any questions?
Wow.
Mr. James?
You know, I had an opportunity to speak to you a little bit outside, and it's always a pleasure when I hear things that Eagle Scouts are doing. But I know that this is a big project, and I would love for your dad to come up and stand beside you.
I'm not going to be swinging the hammer.
And I know I sat through a lot of Eagle Scouts and their projects, and they're so beneficial to the school and to their community. And I know you have taken a lot on your shoulders to make this happen, not only with this project, but the journey itself. So I want to congratulate you for doing this and choosing Vanguard to make this thing happen. Job well done.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. And I just want to say, those that I know that are adults now that have gone through the Eagle Scout, that have made it to the Eagle Scout, they are leaders in communities, they are leaders of states. So we look forward to seeing what you do, Conrad, and we hope very seriously when you graduate from college that you will come back and be a citizen of Marion County. So we look forward to your journey. All right, with no further discussion, we'll let you stand there while we vote. All those in favor, please vote aye, and opposed, like sign. And the motion passed 4-0. Congratulations. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next item is the text-to-tip hotline that we will be partnering with the Marion County Children's Alliance. I am going to ask Ms. Boynton to take over at this point, and I will recuse myself from this vote as I have been appointed the Executive Director of the Marion County Children's Alliance. So, Ms. Boynton, I would please ask that you take this over.
Okay. May I motion to approve the Marion County Children's Alliance, Inc. to utilize text-a-tip hotline? Do I have a motion for that?
So moved.
Okay. Is there any discussion for it, please? All right. Would you vote again? Anybody want to say yes right now?
All in
Yes
favor?
now? Or you, after that, you can say nay. Thank you.
Yes.
All in yea? Okay. We have 3 yeas and 1 was absent assembly. I'm sorry, y'all. Okay, so I'll take it right back to you again, please.
Thank you. Motion passed. May I have a motion to approve the annual financial report for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2018?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. James, seconded by Ms. King. Is there any discussion?
No.
Nope. Okay, all those in favor, please vote aye. And opposed, like sign. Motion passed 4-0. May I have a motion to approve deductive change order number 1, work authorization number 31, to return unspent funds concerning MTI Building 24 remodeling for the YPP program project number 17-108. A motion, please.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. James.
Second.
Seconded by Ms. King. Mr. Knight?
Thank you. Point of bringing this to the board's attention is we were previously asked by some members of the board to alert them as to any change orders on this particular project. This is a change order. This is a deductive change order, meaning that the project is finished and the action is to return unspent funds on the project back to the capital plan. Now, as you note, the board will be voting on the 5-year capital plan the very next board meeting. So it is on the list of the project, but we wanted to ensure that the board understood that this we could not vaporize those funds because this action we're asking for tonight, which is receive the deductive change order, had not taken place yet. And so this is to return $13,908 on this project, and I believe that brings the total on this project to well over $20,000 returned that's not spent for that project. And again, this was due to some previous questions by the board about alerting them when there was a change to this particular project. Thank you.
Okay.
Any questions?
No, I read it, and you did what we asked you to do, and I appreciate that.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? All
Okay.
right. No further discussion. All those in favor, please vote aye. And opposed, like sign. Motion passed 4-0. May I have a motion to approve deductive change order number 1, work authorization number 37, to return unspent funds concerning construction of a wheelchair lift for Osceola Middle School, project number 17-107. Moved by Ms. Boynton,
Second.
second by Mr. James. Mr. Knight?
Thank you. Well, on the heels of the deductive change order for the other project, we're simply making the board aware that yet this is another opportunity for the board to recuperate funds unspent on the project, and obviously in tough economic times in terms of our funding sources, every penny counts. This is a return to the project's fund of $9,325 on the wheelchair lift project, which is unique in that we've never put in a wheelchair lift that travels more than the height of a stage. In this case, this is actually what it boils down to is a stripped-down elevator. In most cases, we put an elevator in a school, and they range in cost from $150,000 to $500,000, depending on the type and scope of the project. And this particular one cost us under $80,000 time we were finished. And again, this is to return funds to the capital project. And just a footnote, since 2012, we've returned over $659,000 back to the capital funds, the smallest being $44.48 for a stage curtain, and the largest being $168,000 for duct and ceiling and lighting replacement at a school, which made the school much more efficient. That was East Marion Elementary School back in the summer 2004. So it's basically a highlight of this action to return funds to the capital project. Again, because we're so close to the board approving the capital project in general. Thank you.
Thank you. Any discussion?
No, I knew it was $9,000, but we'll take it.
Yeah.
So we want to thank you because we know you're always looking out and want to be sure, and when we can save money, you always find the way to do it. So thank you so much. All those in favor, please vote aye, and opposed, like sign. Motion passed 4-0. May I have a motion to approve the following cash or tangible donations that have a total value of $36,152.63. A Yamaha saxophone valued at $1,000 to Bellevue Middle School from Mr. Nicholas Reardon. $4,000 to Dr. N.H. Jones Elementary from Andrew C. Faratnam. I hope I got that correct. $1,723 to Hammett Bowen Elementary from Ocala West United Methodist Church. $1,440 to Marion Oaks Elementary from Ocala Marion County Association of Realtors. $1,545.08 to Marion Oaks Elementary from Ocala Marion County Association of Realtors. $1,000 to Marion Technical College from NAES Corporation. $8,200 to Marion Technical Institute from the Public Education Foundation of Marion County. $1,500 to North Marion High School from One Blood, Inc. Benches, backpacks, uniforms, toiletries, and books valued at $4,646.55 to Oakcrest Elementary from Junior League of Ocala. $2,500 to Ocala Springs Elementary from their business partner Ocala Springs Baptist Church via the Public Education Foundation of Marion County. Equipment for stage lighting, 8 units valued at $2,848 to Westport High School from Phillips Center for the Performing Arts. Enclosed trailer valued at $5,750 to Vanguard High School from Vanguard High School Band Boosters. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. James and seconded by Ms. Boynton. All those in favor, please vote aye, and opposed, like sign. And the motion passed 4-0. And Ms. King, would you do the honors of thanking tonight?
I will. I would like to graciously say thank you for supporting our students and our teachers and our schools. We know everything, whether it be the saxophone or sometimes monetary donations or whatever they are, we're just always appreciative of them, and thank you for caring for our students.
Thank you, Ms. King. The next administrative briefing and work session is scheduled for Thursday, September 20th, 2018 at 9:00 a.m. The purpose of the work session is to update construction projects, social promotion, student progression plan, strategic plan update, and our uniform assessment update. There is a final hearing scheduled for 9:30 a.m. on Wednesday, September 12th in the school board meeting room. And I will now ask if there are board comments and concerns. Ms. King, we will start with you.
Okay, I'm going to begin with giving a shout out to Miss Goldner at Saddlewood Elementary. I visited her classroom last week and she had a safari. And it was wonderful. And I have to say, every single one of her students was completely engaged in the learning process, and they were learning math, whether it be expanded form, standard form, word form, and they were exploring animals and stuff. And so she is definitely a special gem here in Marion County. I also want to recognize that yesterday I went to Oakcrest Elementary, and they had the bark bus. They had the bark bus, and they had the Bow Wow reading room. And that's when the Humane Society will bring animals, in this case they were dogs, I think there were some kitty cats too, into a classroom, and the students actually get to read to them and with them. And then, the animals are shelter animals, so they get to interact some. And so how special that children are learning about animals, but also enjoying reading in an educational setting. That was wonderful. I do have a concern that I need to address with this board and the superintendent. I'm not sure if we're aware, but I'm sure Dr. Mayer, you are. Our new reading series for the CKLA are books. Our K through 2 students, our classrooms only had 10 reading books, the series in their classroom. Our teachers do not have the materials that they need, such as, I can't recall the book, maybe the knowledge or the skills book, where it has their grammar, their phonics skills and stuff like that. They've been told that they will take plastic sheets of paper and put them over maybe some skill sheets and work in small group settings with them, and they can dry erase them. I keep hearing that they're, I am confused as a board member how we can approve a budget of over $500 million and we have classrooms that are not equipped with every student not having a reading book and a text in their hand. And I understand they've been told that they can, there's other ways they could buddy read and stuff like that, but I cannot justify our teachers not having the materials they need to teach our students. And we saw those scores up here earlier today. And I also hear time is a big factor in this series. We know that they have to have 90 minutes to 120 minutes daily. They're having a hard time fitting this in. And I'm disappointed and I'm concerned and I'm quite embarrassed that we have teachers that cannot supply each student with a book. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is a perfect example is what we've seen in here the past 2 work sessions, where people are afraid to come before and say anything. So I'm speaking on behalf of teachers of Marion County.
I can say, I want to thank you. I just wrote it right here. I said, thank you for the same information. It was just when they came in, I asked, do we have any of the resources? They already know they don't have everything, And I think it's so important to get all the resources, a teacher for our schools, Sometimes when we look at turnaround school, all that information, just like you said, the same what you said, by that time, and we're going to, all those schools that the grades are really, really going down, I want you to have the resources for those. We should have that. We should have that.
Every classroom in this school should have the resources they need.
Right now, the same one school too.
Their students. And we are doing them an injustice by not supplying our teachers with the materials they need.
But give us the information and let us know about why they don't have the information too.
Can you
Get the resources. Thank you.
So, good evening, board members. So, in response to, I know that Mrs. Kelly and I have had an email exchange as far as what resources do our teachers have connected to CKLA. So, one of the things that I'll, just as a quick overview, in K through 2, there are 2 strands. There is a skills strand and there is a knowledge strand. In 3-5, it is only the knowledge strand. So we'll start in 3-5. All of our students have the student workbooks connected to knowledge. We shouldn't have, if we have any gaps right now, it's because we need to do some additional ordering, which we are going to do that. Right now, we're in the process of moving from units that didn't make and then looking at where we need to make some additional purchases. When looking at K2, there was a strand component. That strand component was an element that was added on after the original negotiation of CKLA. It is a systematics phonics program. It is very good. Now, here's what I will say. In the knowledge section in K2, primarily it is really working through a read aloud with students. And so there are visual picture cards that go up for students, and then the teacher is using the read aloud to teach the comprehension. When looking at the skills side, what we are referencing is most classrooms do have anywhere from 8 to 10 decodable skills reader. Even within that TE, in many cases, it is talking about partnering with another student and buddy reading that with a student. Also, we have been talking to teachers that in many cases that instruction begins whole group and then it concludes by really having the children come to a table with the teacher, and then they are reading with the teacher in a small group, which would be very appropriate in kindergarten through second grade. Having been a kindergarten teacher in the past, when those children are really beginning in those decodable readers, I would want them in front of me. I'm looking for where their fingers and their tracking. I'm looking whether they are reading and their mouth movement. I'm looking to see where I have to intervene. As far as the skills workbook, so each teacher received one consumable workbook. We have worked with the company, and as a matter of fact, we had a conference call this week regarding delivery of additional skills workbooks, and that will give our teachers anywhere from 8 to 10 workbooks that they can use. And one of the things I put in the email, Ms. Kelly, is that those workbook pages could certainly be utilized with specific students to meet specific student needs. When we think about some of those students may not need that and may need actually an accelerated resource that could support them. And in addition to that, in some cases, a great handwriting paper would also serve that same purpose as it's talking about hand strokes and letter formation. So I hope that kind of answers some of your questions regarding the resources.
My question is, where's the books?
Right.
All of this now, I just want to know, when are the teachers going to get the books? Now, I heard this. Are they going to get the books next week or what?
So for the skills section for both the student readers and the skills workbook, so the additional skills workbooks are on the way, but not a class set of those. So if we want to make sure that we have skills readers and skills workbooks in all of our classrooms, that would require an additional purchase that was not built into that original cost through the adoption.
Okay, here's my concern. Today is September 11th, and we are a month into school, and we have teachers that are not equipped with the materials they need to be successful teachers. Board members, we saw those scores today. And when those scores come in next summer, we're going to be looking around at each other and looking at the teachers and looking at them and their VAM scores, and we're not even giving them what they need. Time is of the essence, and what I'm not seeing is an urgency to teach our students how to read and give our students a good quality education. This relies on us, and it's been brought to my attention. I think you guys are probably aware of this, and it's up to us to make a decision, obviously. And I'm telling you, our teachers are worried and they're concerned, and we shouldn't give them anything less than what they need, starting with textbooks and their skill books that they're saying they need.
Well, then, why don't we have another workshop so that we can talk about the resources, how much we need per school, and then we can talk about it, because we have one that's not here, and I think it's important that Nancy would be here to.
We should just order it.
Well, I think we
Just
need to
order?
find out, I think we need to find out what each school needs. I don't think
instantly.
we need a workshop to determine that. I think we need to find out
Well,
what do our schools need.
And I will tell you this, tonight, actually, you were approving an amendment to afford us the opportunity to do additional purchases for CKLA. We knew that we needed to make additional purchases, which is why it is on this evening. We also are wanting to make sure that we are supporting our self-contained ESE teachers as well. So we have definitely been taking the feedback from the teachers and from the administrators as it has been coming to us. But I want to make sure before I leave tonight that you know there is absolutely a sense of urgency from our department regarding instruction of these standards. And we are working a mile a minute to make sure that we are putting resources in our teachers' hands, that we are putting knowledge, we are providing knowledge to our administrators. Last evening would be a perfect example. We had our first curriculum liaison meeting. It was a wonderful success. We had representatives from every single elementary school except for one, and we're working with that administrator. And we are working on how do we implement CKLA? How do we make sure that we are putting the best support in front of our students? So I want to make sure that I put that on the table as well.
Okay, so.
So we need to be sure.
My question is, we have the sense of urgency now that we're a month into it. Where was the good decision-making this summer and last spring when we're ordering these books and we made the decision to give our classroom teachers 10 books per classroom?
So we can't go backwards, and I don't disagree with that, but we can't go backwards. We need to move forward and get the material in the classrooms as quickly as we can.
Well, and let's go back to what Ms. Beck said about the 10 books, that in the K2, when we have small group, that's all we need is 10. We wouldn't want a group larger than 10 in front of that teacher. So the 10 books is appropriate because we're doing the small group reading.
And I understand that, and I can see that.
Then here's what I hear. Then why did we order a series that suggests they do whole group? And then only order 10 and not,
Because we modified the curriculum to.
So we're modifying the curriculum so we know better than the author is what we have decided, is what
Why
we're
would
doing
it
then.
just 10? Why only 10?
For small group.
And
And there's a ton of read alouds provided.
And I asked you, we need that, okay, but how many students per, it's only 10 person? How many person can read that?
So in our K2 classrooms, most of our classrooms, I'm not going to say all because that wouldn't be true, but in most of our K2 classrooms, if you recall, we have that 1 to 18. And so again, when you think about if you are partner reading, or even if you're small group reading, when I would pull children over in small group, I really never had more than about 6 in a group. And so, again, in that particular example, I wouldn't even be using all 10. I'd be using the 6 in order to instruct the students in front of me. Again, I go back to especially as they are those K1 students, they are developing in reading. I need them as close to me as possible so that I can monitor their reading behaviors, and I don't want them to get lost in a group and make an assumption that they are emerging readers when they're not emerging.
So I think the message is we need to be sure that they have the resources that they need to teach. I think that is absolutely the message. Correct?
I think the message is they need the resources yesterday.
They did. They needed them on August 13th, the first day of school.
Okay.
I don't disagree with that.
Okay, my thing is, and I want to say this to Ms. King, I appreciate you bringing this information to our attention. And to me, I would like for us not to have another work session on this.
We don't need one.
All I need is for somebody to tell me that these teachers are going to get the books that they need tomorrow. I know you can't tell me, but that's the sense of urgency I'm looking at. When I look at these numbers, and when I'm looking at the turnaround things, and I look at these numbers, I'm saying, I asked, what are we doing to improve the ones that are showing deficiencies, and what are we doing? Okay, and one of the things I will be hearing is, well, they don't have the books. And so when I look at these things, this is what I'm talking about. Had no problem with the turnaround program, because they gave me what I was looking for. But by the same token, I'm sitting here and asking the question, what are the reasons that these schools are not performing in a certain area? I just heard one, is that they may not have the material. Okay, now these are something that I think our area coordinators need to be working on too, because they need to be out there in the weeds too. Okay, is it my turn to give out?
Are you through, Ms.
I'm
King?
through. I just,
Okay, Ms. Beck, are you through with Ms. Beck, or would you like her standing there?
She can stand if she want to, but she can go.
Ms.
I
Beck,
don't.
I think
Okay.
you understand there is a sense of
Yes.
urgency, and we must have, each teacher must have the necessary resources. When I look at that first set of scores, I'm very nervous,
Yeah, and
as we all are, so we got to have the resources. They must have the resources.
okay,
All right,
tomorrow.
thank you.
Thank you. Mr. James?
And make sure you give me the update, give me the 8, so we can get that information for every school, school member can get that update information. Thank you.
Mr.
All right,
James?
thank you.
Well, actually, I just want to say that, actually, Kelly's led right into what I want to talk about now. The turnaround presentation gave me what I was looking for in terms of what we were looking at. These are some things I'm concerned about. And I think, Mr. McCall, you mentioned it, and you said you wanted for the board members to get out and go to the schools in their area, and which I think that's a good idea. But I'm going to say this to the board members: if they don't have the skills that Kelly have around it, they're going to be at a disadvantage of this. Okay, so I want us to understand now, if we have these directors out there, they are supposed to be providing us information on what they need in order to make these things happen. I don't mind going around there, walking through and looking at the dogs and things that I saw today. That's wonderful. But by the same token, I'm expecting those guys to come here and say, this is what we need, this is how we need to do it. I don't want to be walking around here trying to do something that we got a professional guy that we're paying a tremendous amount of money to do these things. Okay, now my next question is that we hired Jane Esterman, and I respect Jane tremendously. She's a tremendous educator. Where the funding, how are we funding that?
The SIG grant.
The C grant.
It's through a grant.
Okay, so that's through a grant, and that's wonderful. Now, my next question is, once we get all of this information, and again, this is where Ms. Elsterman and Jane can help us tremendously, if they tell us that they don't have the books or whatever in order to make this thing happen. And I'm looking for turnaround times and how we can get this stuff done. Okay, that's very important, because we had the funding, we had the people. Now, what I'm questioning, do we have the expertise to really make this thing happen? We got Jane here, and she's saying that's a given. Her track record indicate that she knows how to move schools. By the same token, as a board member, the best we can do is walk around and say, are we doing this? And I just want you guys to know this, because that's important to me. Put a period on that one. I missed Thursday work session, and we were talking, I know you all talked about naming the football stadium after Mikey Kelly. He has been a tremendous influence around here, and I've known him for years and years and years. And that's one of the things I will say, that's a very good idea. Okay, and I hope somebody's out there listening to me. That's a given to me. But by the same token, we're overlooking a person over there by the name of John Rogers. Okay, now for the people that don't know, Mr. Kelly should be there, but we should also look at that gym, and it should be John Rogers' gym. And I hope Bill Chambers and Batzel and all those guys that he took to the state, and it was the winningest coach probably in our time. And if we look at that, I'd like for somebody to be knocking on the door and say, hey, let's do two of those things. Because John Rogers, before Jim Haley, was king of basketball. And I don't think Jim ever beat him.
I think you may be right.
I don't think he ever beat John Rogers. And I hope Jim, looking at this, he's going to give me a call. But I don't think he ever beat
Bill
John
Chambers
Rogers.
will give you a call.
Bill Chambers as well. In terms of where we are, I think we're closing out. Hopefully we're beginning on a good note if we can get our supplies ordered and the things that we need. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. James. Ms. Boynton?
I had some information, but what I'm going to do right now, rather, I'm going to, for my own concerns, commit, I will just be with Kelly, Mr. James. I'm just going to stand with them, stay with what they're saying, because that's the same information we were talking about. I'm going to just stand with both of you, and that's all I want to say, because I've already read it, told them, and now they can hear you talk it so much better. And thank you. Thank you.
I just want to take a minute to publicly thank our community for passing the referendum at 73%. You've sent us a message that you think our children are important. We want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts, because we know we can continue doing what we've been doing with the referendum dollars. And I know Ms. Teresa Boston Ellis is back there smiling. But again, thank you. We will be thanking some people at our September 25th board meeting who were instrumental in helping us do that. But to the general public, thank you for voting. Thank you for getting out and supporting our children. It's graciously and gratefully appreciated. Thank you. Madam Superintendent.
Thank you so much. Let me first make a correction. Ms. Boston Ellis corrected me that Ms. Elsperman's fee was moved to general fund, not SIG funding. So let me correct that first. I want to thank Officer Cabrera. Thank you for being here tonight, and thank you for everything you do for us as a first responder tonight, a very special night, and we're glad you were with us. Thank you. It is American Founders Month. September is American Founders Month, and board, Mr. McAteer today sent you lists and lists of what our middle school and high school they're doing to celebrate Founders Month. So not only Constitution Day, Patriot Day, of course, which is today, Constitution Day, which is the 17th of the month, and then Freedom Week, which is the 24th to the 28th. Just tons of activities. And again, bringing it back to empowering these kids to become knowledgeable, patriotic citizens, so that when they leave us, they are informed and they are good citizens. And they need more than just reading a textbook to do that. They need actual activities, much like we talk about our vocational kids and that hands-on experience. I am so proud of our principals who have put together this packet that these kids are doing. The BARK bus in the Bow Wow Reading Room was mentioned earlier, and again, what a great opportunity for our entire school district to be visited by the BARK bus. Every elementary school will be visited by the BARK bus, and kudos to Ms. McCall, you and Mr. Fishlow for working together to make that happen. He said that he had been trying for years and years to get that moving, so thank you for making that happen. And again, every elementary school in Marion County will be visited by the BARK bus, which is a most magnificent vehicle that is brightly decorated, but more importantly, it is bringing the message to our kids with this partnership from the Humane Society that not only reading is fun and reading is important, but that humane education, because if we aren't developing empathetic young people, nothing academically that we do matters. And again, another example of when your only focus is on doing the right thing for kids, and that is your only agenda, great things happen. Great things happen. And there are so many good things happening out there. And before I talk about what is great in our district, I wanted to share a thank you to Superintendent Rocky Hanna in Leon County. On Friday, August 24th, our North Marion kids were up there playing a game, and our bus broke down. Well, it just took one phone call from Jody Phillips, our AD, was instrumental in negotiating this, but he made a phone call to the principal of the high school, And that principal, make sure I say it right. Oh gosh, I can't find an email. But anyway, the principal of the high school, Principal Rickards, Principal Cook at Rickards High School, got it. He immediately got a bus, one of the Leon County buses that transported our kids home. So thank you for that, and thank you for taking care of our kids. And in our district, so many good things are happening, and simply because a response is not given when something is said does not mean that it is not heard, but there are always two sides of every story, and it's a great opportunity to share what the silent majority is doing. Ms. Brown, who works at Evergreen Elementary, again, kudos to Teresa in your department, because in the finance department, your staff did a turnaround for Ms. Brown, who had an issue with her first paycheck, and Ms. Brown wanted to thank Mr. Davila, Ms. Tyndall, and Ms. Gideon, who worked expeditiously to make sure she was paid and paid on time. Ms. Christmas at North Marion High School and Ms. McQueen at Fort McCoy High School was recognized by the State Executive Director of the Health Occupation Students of America, that's HOSA. Both of them went above and beyond with the conference this summer, and not only did they do volunteer work at the conference for our kids, but they also, with their advisement at the school level, have increased membership and have done a great job there. At Emerald Shores Elementary, Ms. Rodriguez got kudos from a parent who said, "Thank you for being patient with my child, and we could not do this without you." And also at Emerald Shores, Mrs. Pace King and Ms. Porterfield were recognized by parents for inspiring their children to academic success. At Saddlewood, Principal Lapira and Miss Marinacci got an email from a parent who said that one morning during breakfast, the daughter says, "Mommy, I'm so excited." And the mom says, "Well, what's happening?" She thought maybe there was a special cartoon or something on. And the little girl said, "Because we are about to go to school." And mom said she started to cry at that point. But again, thank you to Saddlewood. Also at Saddlewood, Miss Johnson Allen, Miss Bramlett, and Miss Goss got a wonderful email from a parent who said that the transition of their child from a school outside the district to this one was seamless thanks to their efforts. At Maplewood Elementary, I'm going to ask your assistants, can you grab that underneath there? Miss Gavel, who is a guidance counselor, has brought buddy benches to Maplewood Elementary. Now, you're going to see these buckets around our district, and I would encourage all of you to save lids like this, because under Miss Gavel's guidance, these lids are collected, they're sent to well, actually, she drives them to this company out of state, and they are turned into buddy benches. And these buddy benches are placed around campus so that any child who wants a friend or who wants to reach out to having a friend sits on this special bench. So it is a great opportunity for a donation of a simple lid that turns into an opportunity for friendship to occur. Thank you so much, Nicole. At Bellevue High School, Mr. Williams and Mr. Wolf reached out to a student who came to them saying he was bullied, and this student's needs were addressed immediately, so much that the parent sent me a special email saying thank you to them under the leadership of Principal Guest for their professional caring attention. Ms. Gaw at College Park Elementary got kudos from parents because she goes above and beyond with her communication. At Lake Weir Middle School, Ms. Sugar, the guidance counselor, helped a student who was an introvert, and then the student had a family emergency, and because of Ms. Sugar, that student is now, according to the mom, bubbly and excited. At Hammett Bowen Elementary, Principal Crawford, Area Director Mr. Whitehouse, who you saw earlier, and our Extended Day Coordinator, Pam Eubanks, all came together to help a parent with an issue, and the parent emailed me and wanted to say, "It is good to know that so many people care." A parent emailed me about Ms. Gold at Madison Street Elementary, saying she is passionate beyond measure. And her exact quote, "I'm certain there aren't very many teachers of Miss Gold's caliber. You are trusting a stranger to not only teach your child, but to keep them safe, protect their little hearts, and hopefully foster a love of learning. This year, I am certain we have been gifted with a teacher who fully understands this responsibility." Miss Moore, who's the IPC at Spar Elementary, received kudos from a grandmother who was needing help enrolling her grandkids. And so Miss Moore, again, went above and beyond and spent extra hours with this grandma. Ms. Winkler at Marion Oaks Elementary, I got a ton of emails from parents saying about her positive outreach and her approachability. Andrea Simmons, who is our only health services program specialist, who takes care of our students and does a 24/7 monitoring, literally. When these students want to go on field trips, we had a middle school student who had a health issue, and Miss Simmons, because of the dedication she put into this student can now go on a field trip. Which we may say, oh, okay, a field trip, but especially when you're in middle school, to be with your peers and to be doing regular things with them means so much. We got more kudos, and this was for Miss Dawson Brown, who works with home education. And a parent says that because of the positive relationship and support for her daughter is now a UCF Knight. Kudos to her. Principal Johnson and Assistant Principal Farino at Anthony Elementary. Last Saturday, they worked together to keep their school computer lab open for the entire community. So any student in Marion County could visit their little red schoolhouse and use the computer there. We got kudos for Lynn Bradford in risk management, who provided immediate attention after hours to help Spar Elementary. Our school counseling and assessment department got kudos also from Principal Street at Spar, and also from Assistant Principal Collins at Osceola Middle, who said that their level of professionalism is consistently impressive, and then we can call on them anytime. Kudos to Connie Carpenter, who is the content area specialist for literacy at Lakeware Middle School. She has put in a grant, and they are the first school in the district to be a project list site. And what that means is there will be book studies and more collaboration and community around this. And again, the first chapter in the county, actually. And thanks to Connie Carpenter there. So thank you. Thanks for letting me share what we're doing. I appreciate it. And I'm sure they do too.
Thank you. Mr. Gibbs, anything?
Yep. I did want to correct the meeting reminders. You mentioned that there was a meeting tomorrow at 9:30 in the morning. That was moved to October due to personnel. So just so nobody shows up tomorrow, 9:30, we do not have a meeting.
I read that. I thought. Yeah.
I sent out a calendar to everybody. You should have received in your email this, I think on the 4th or the 5th, that gave all 4 of our hearings that are coming up are all in October. So we have nothing in September.
Give them those dates. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Gibbs. Anything else? Okay. Before addressing expulsion matters, I wish to acknowledge that board members have received the alternative placements for students through August 22nd. Ms. Martinez-Lopez, are there any parents who have submitted a timely request to speak on their child's disciplinary matter?
No, ma'am.
No? Hearing none. May I have a motion to approve the expulsion of student JD 19-001, JD 19-002, JD 19-003, JD 19-005 with educational services through the remainder of the 2018-19 school year. Moved by Ms. King.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. James. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please vote aye, and opposed, like sign. Motion passed 4-0. May I have a motion to approve the expulsion of student JD 19-004E with educational services through the remainder of the 2018-19 school year and the first semester of the 2019-20 school year? Moved by Ms. King.
Second.
Seconded by Ms. James. Mr. James, is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please vote aye, and opposed, like sign. Motion passed 4-0. There being no further business, may I have a motion to adjourn? Moved by Ms. Boynton. Seconded by Ms. King. All those in favor, please vote aye. Opposed, like sign. Oh, sorry. My fault. Motion passed 4-0. Meeting is adjourned at 7:25.